our representative for constituency number 24, his entire life has been spent eating, sleeping, drinking, and listening to politics and the way forward for Bermuda. And to his credit, he was raised by two wonderful family members, his father, former Premier Alex Scott, and Mrs. Scott. He demonstrated to Bermuda why he is so passionate and why he is so committed to the future growth and development of Bermuda. He made mincemeat of his political opponent in a very professional, very polished way. And all I can say is he took that plane down the runway, took off, leveled at the altitude he needed, avoided all the turbulence, and proceeded to the destination. And came down and touched that runway at his destination so smoothly you didn't even know he's back on the ground. And they didn't know what hit them. That is the type of candidate that we have. And I understand he's here. And you talk about timing. Hey. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry for my tardiness, but just had an emergency response drill at the airport, so please excuse me for that. Now, there are important questions that need to be asked from time to time. One of those questions, and one of the most famous questions, is if a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? The author was Stanislaw J. Lek. Now, Stanislaw J. Lek is known by many as one of the greatest post-World War II authors in Poland. He's also been given the title of one of the most inspirational, one of the most intelligent aphorists. Now, an aphorist is somebody who goes into deep thought and talks about it. So he asks a lot of questions. One of his other questions was, if a book about failure doesn't sell, is it a success? But the question that I think is most appropriate for tonight, and not just for tonight, but for this election, is if a man who cannot count finds a four-leaf clover, is he lucky? Now, I don't know about you, but about 2 weeks ago, I was watching the news. And this is when Kim Swan was announced as being an independent candidate. And in that news footage, that news article, that news story, they showed Kim Swan, leader of the UBP, under the UBP banner, flanked by Louise Jackson, Bob Richards, Grant Gibbons, and Trevor Monis. But right after that, they showed Craig Cannoner, leader of the OBA, under the OBA banner, flanked by Louise Jackson, Bob Richards, Grant Gibbons, and Trevor Monis. So now, this is where that question comes in. If a man who cannot count finds a four-leaf clover, Is he lucky? So it's not so much about this man not being able to count. It's about him finding a way to perceive, differentiate, and be able to judge the difference between the two clovers that he hears. So let me repeat that one more time. It's not about his inability to count. It's about his ability to perceive the difference between the two clovers that he hears. So let's say in this hand, I have an OBA clover. And then in this hand, I have a PLP clover. Now, imagine with me that we are that man that cannot count. And in this hand, there's a leaf. This leaf represents the original plan, the original platform, which was pro-austerity and against future care. But then when they realized that that was not the popular stance, we now have someone who is pro-future care and against austerity. Then we have this leaf. This second leaf, this leaf here. This leaf represents their reduction, their reusing and recycling, even redescribing policies, procedures, and legislations already proposed by the government and putting their name on it. Then you have this leaf. This leaf right here is representative of, if we didn't come up with the idea, it's not a good idea. The glass is always half empty unless they fill it for you. But then on this hand, we look at this clover. This leaf right here represents the people and party that championed one man, one vote of equal value. This leaf right here, this represents the party that championed the reduction of the voting age from 25 to 21, and then from 21 to 18. A party that believed that we need to put the youth in a position to directly participate in the direction that this country's future goes. Then you have this leaf right here. This leaf represents investment. When needed the most, this government invested in its people, in its country. We invested in seniors through future care. We invested in the youth through training, retraining. And we invested in the overall infrastructure. We provided all those things that the public, the people, the country were asking, that they were crying for in '98. And then this leaf right here. This leaf represents strength. The strength of a spider's web in a storm represents the golf balls in a mayonnaise jar. For all of you who've heard me speak before, you know what I'm talking about. But simply put, this leaf right here represents standing strong for Bermudians. So now I ask the question, if a man who cannot count finds a four-leaf clover Is he lucky? I don't think that is luck. Because this clover right here, this clover makes me feel, makes me believe that we have to build one another together so that we can be solid as a rock and make it happen on December 17th. So I guess the answer to that question, if a man who cannot count finds a four-leaf clover, is he lucky? As long as you stand strong and pick the PLP. See, were you there when I was writing the speech? As long as you stand strong for the PLP and allow us to stand strong for Bermudians, luck has nothing to do with it.